Hey, welcome to our Gulp review of Joker here on Cinema Gulp. I'm Ben.
I'm Joanne.
I'm Mark.
And guys, why so serious?
Because this is one fucked up movie. And by fucked up, I mean fucking awesome.
Spoiler free for the most part. If you've seen the trailers, you pretty much know what we're going to talk about. So take that for what it's worth.
I absolutely loved this movie, even more than I thought I would. I was very much looking forward to it, just because I've always loved the Joker character. I never liked Batman, to be honest with you.
He's boring.
I think he's boring. He's douchey to me. I don't know why he has
frat
to
boy,
talk in that weird voice and. But actually, I always loved all the villains. You know, I always found them way more interesting than Batman. Sorry, it's 10 times more so after seeing this movie and getting that that history and that character depth. It was just amazing.
I think Joker is now the most interesting villain, at least in comic books. I'd still say you have your Hannibal Lecters and things like that.
Yeah.
that may kind of combat that a little bit. But I think Joker is the most. What they were able to do with that, I mean, I'd love to see someone try to take on a Mr. Freeze movie and give him some context.
I mean, yeah.
Tonight's forecast. A freeze is coming. You are not sending me to the cooler. Freeze well.
I know they've explored several backstories for him where they're like unreliable, and I know this one was based on a few of the comics, like bits and pieces of different comics, like the Killing Joke and whatnot.
Killing Joke a little
bit,
yeah.
With the comedian backstory, and but yeah, it was really cool. So this was an amazing film as a standalone, and I love the fact that it was so character driven, like insanely character driven, which you don't get a lot these days, right? Where and you're following him in every shot. I don't think there's a shot without him in it. You are basically with him as Arthur Fleck through this whole journey.
There's been a couple people that have said that there's some like minor plot holes in this movie. The thing I say to that is that when you have an unreliable narrator, plot holes are part of the experience that you're viewing it. And like when we find certain things out as viewers in this movie, one in particular that's pretty big, it makes so much more sense as to why other things haven't maybe felt right, or like, oh, why haven't we revisited that, or what happened with this or this? Like, it's all because this guy is like, I mean, when's the last time you've seen a movie where the person you're relying on is the catalyst, that we're seeing it through their perspective, is you know, mentally unstable and kind of deranged as this guy. I think that's sort of why Joaquin Phoenix wanted to do this movie so much, because look at his last like 5 movies. He's kind of already a variation of the Joker in almost every one of those movies. He did a movie last year or the year before from Lynn Ramsey. She's a great director. And he's kind of the same kind of character. He's like a vigilante, he's a murderer, except in that one he's like overweight. He gained weight for that one, whereas in this one he lost like 50 pounds or something.
Yeah, it was crazy. Very, you know, to fit the role and kind of the backstory of the character, like kind of like a machinist style method acting there. and it's very noticeable when you see him with the shirt off. It was almost like disturbing, you know, to see a human being like be that just emaciated.
And this movie does take place in 1981. But still, did people smoke as much as he smokes in 1981? He smokes
I think so.
Some
much
people,
in this movie.
Some people did.
Maybe the 60s was worse, but there was still a lot of smoking.
Wow, he smokes a lot in this movie.
He becomes like a mix of protagonist, anti-hero, and then eventual villain. So it's kind of cool to have that trio as you watch this, and just you watch this journey, and it's interesting because normally you want to root for your protagonist, and while I wasn't necessarily like rooting for him, especially to like what he eventually becomes and does, but I was rooting for like him as Arthur, like, don't take that extra step, come on, you can pull yourself back. Like, even though I know he's gonna become the Joker, there was still that part of me on the inside was like rooting for him, like, don't do it. Ah, you know.
You wanted to be his therapist.
Yeah, like you wanted to help this guy to not become what he's just destined to become.
I had a similar feeling. I actually thought, you know, I wish I was his adoptive mom. I wish I was his mom, but then we wouldn't have the same movie. I always loved this actor, but this performance involved, you know, a crazy laugh, it involved dancing, it involved everything. Also costume and makeup. That was amazing. Absolutely.
Just the mannerisms.
Yeah.
Like, that's the one thing about him that I love so much is like, and what could have been of River, his older brother, like what he could have done as an actor too.
I thought of that too.
Yeah, like that guy could have played the Joker too, you know?
Oh,
but,
yeah, that would have been
I love the quirks and the mannerisms of Joaquin Phoenix.
Like, yeah, because I love how it was a blend of like probably his quirks through his acting, but there was also a lot of, you saw those bits and pieces of classical Joker quirks.
Yeah.
Like you knew that was the character. Like if you're familiar with the character, you absolutely saw like those bits and pieces and moments where it's like, oh, that was such a Joker gesture or movement or just reaction.
I love how he, and you know this was him, and maybe it had to do with the smoking, or maybe it was the condition that we found out's a real. Mark found out is a real condition.
Yes, it's called PBA. So, so the Joker is one of the things the Joker is known for is his laughter, right? Well, here they grounded it by giving Arthur a condition where you laugh or cry uncontrollably, and of course, this type of condition and the wrong situation can lead you to get into awkward situations or even in trouble. So it's called like PBA, which stands for pseudo-bular
Public display of affection.
Yes, public
actually similar.
Very similar, yes. So I thought it was cool that they took it and gave it that kind of realistic angle.
Yeah. And what he added to it was this sort of after cough. Where
it was
really hard.
Him.
Yeah, it was physically hurting him. Where like that little extra added thing made you go like, okay, he's not laughing because he thinks something's funny.
And I think it made you empathize with him more. You're like, wow, that's painful in many different ways because it can be awkward socially, and then it actually physically, like he obviously physically cannot control it.
Yeah, especially when you could see he wanted to stop. You know how he was doing like that sort of like, I'm sorry, like kind of like still laughing, but then like trying to put his hand up where it just showed like, I'm not doing this on purpose.
It's like an asthma attack almost.
Right.
It's like give me my inhaler or something, you know?
Right.
Like,
and then he had his card for that moment, those moments too.
Yeah, I love the card.
So I'm not going to bore people with too much, so I'm just going to briefly talk about what I thought was technically sound and really good about this movie. Lawrence Sher is the cinematographer of this movie, and we've watched him get better and better and better as he's done Todd Phillips movies. This movie has some gorgeous cinematography, particularly the opening scene, not the opening shot, but the opening title scene where these assholes have stolen Arthur's sign and he's chasing them through Gotham. Then they beat the shit out of him, and like his sign's there and he's laying down, just beat the shit out of, and his sign is broken, and the depth of field as the camera's panning out and everything behind him is going dark, or excuse me, is going out of focus, and he just gets so crisp, like there's this angelic presence about him. It's probably a simple trick, but it's so effective at that moment in the movie.
Yeah, that was a great shot.
Loved that shot, and I loved almost all the exterior shots of this movie. Of like, it doesn't give you like these giant, helicopter / drone shots of Gotham the way something like The Dark Knight was. I think there's one or two where you kind of see an overview of Gotham,
like
and it just looks like a fucking trash heap. Like it's in like the worst state it's ever been in.
Yeah,
like,
kind of when it showed like that railway that went through the middle, because that seems to be like a classic film version. All film versions of Gotham have like that rail or train that kind of goes through the middle of the city. Yeah,
it looked like the way that The Dark Knight and Batman Begins, they wanted Gotham to have a Blade Runner feel. This one feels, well, like Taxi Driver, like New York Taxi Driver, the way it kind of is, the whole movie is sort of modeled after, like just this grotesque kind of like overpopulated city where the trash is starting to pile up everywhere. So all those shots are just magnificent because it's almost like beautiful garbage, the best way to put it,
Yeah, actually you hit on something that I didn't think of until you said it. I used to be a little bit bored of some of the Batman movies just because they were physically dark. All the shots were dark. And this one had a perfect use of color. It was still, there was still the darkness there, but they managed to achieve some colorful and dark combinations that I think were just very visually appealing to me.
That's a great point. It did feel colorful, as if the movie's kind of, the surroundings are kind of modeled after the Joker's clothes and face.
Yeah, it was like vibrant color, and then you had like some amazing lighting. The shots, like you said, Ben. I mean, there was a lot of great cinematography, and then of course the music that went with it was phenomenal too. Every scene had a great score or song that was chosen for it, and it just fit right in.
I love the score of this movie. It's haunting and beautiful, and like it's not creepy in the sense of it like being horror. It's more sad.
Yeah, very sad.
Yeah, it's very sad. But it would play
like melancholy.
Yeah, it would play at interesting times where then the movie would like try to use this false sense of energy by playing like some big, almost like fun rock song in a really inappropriate time.
Yeah, the one that stands out to me is when you finally see him,
like the Mighty Ducks song. so good.
It did,
because it makes you go like, man, I so wish he was like the good guy, because I kind of love him at this point, you know?
And that just shows you that's good writing, you know? It's like even for the villain, you understand where they're coming from.
Yeah,
that's what it should be. A story should be about that.
Right.
And speaking on that, I know that we were talking about how irritating social media has been about this movie even before it came out, and how, like, you know, we're not media people, we're just YouTube nerds. So like, we can see right through the cynicism of like media getting clicks because they say, hey, the director is irresponsible for making this movie because it tells people that are mentally unstable or picked on to go out and shoot up a movie theater, when it's the exact opposite.
Yeah, like, it's interesting because for anyone who hasn't seen the film and maybe has seen like some of the online BS that's going on, it couldn't be more false. It's just sensationalized, and just people are just like, for some reason it's like they're projecting wanting to have something bad to happen, or projecting that this has such a bad message, like, oh, this will cause mass shootings, which to us, all of us that went together to see it, had an organic opposite reaction where we came to be like, hey, maybe we should be more civil, kind, and nice to other people, especially those with mental illness, so that they don't go down this kind of path.
Maybe it's not so much about gun control as it is about treating people better
and giving them access to the services they need, because that was kind of in
that was really in your face, and that was Todd Phillips, the writer-director, blasting the system right now. Rightfully so. Fuck the system. It's like,
it's absolutely true too. I mean, I have a lot of people close to me, or people close to me who have, you know, spouses or whatnot with mental illnesses, and not to get too political, but society does not take care of them.
No.
And
that's really horrible. It's just, it's mind-boggling to what we spend some of that money actually on.
And this movie, I think it actually gives the right lesson. Maybe it depends on the viewer, but like you said, all three of us, without discussing it, came to the same conclusion after watching that movie. So I think those people are just misinterpreting.
Yeah, I think so too. I think the media's job is to get clicks. That's how they get advertising. That's how they get money. But I think that I hope that, like, what people, and I'm happy that nothing happened over the weekend.
Oh, of course, yeah.
There was some kind of stupid threat, probably from some dumbass kids or something like that. But I hope so much that, like, people take what we took out of the movie, which is like, maybe treat people a little nicer, and you can avoid these things. Like, people are like, no, well, you know, if they're capable of that, they're gonna do it anyway. Bullshit. Total bullshit. Like, when you get trounced on the way this guy gets trounced on in this movie, there's probably only a couple of avenues you'll go down, and one is just off yourself, or one is to, like, take some people down with you. You know,
it's like that classic one bad day away from snapping. Especially when you watch Arthur, it's like one thing after another after another. I mean, you're watching this character slowly just descend and what he puts up with before finally just. It's definitely not cartoony Joker at all.
No.
Like, you're watching the beginning of it, and you're watching something much more character driven versus cartoony supervillain like antics or crime.
Yeah, the reason it doesn't have the cartoony feel is because, like, again, no comparisons. I love Ledger. One of the best performances of my lifetime watching on film. But he was an outside, an inside speaking out Joker. He was an external Joker. He was talking to people. We didn't know anything about what he was really going through or who he was. We saw a Joker acting a part. We don't see the movie from Heath Ledger's Joker's point of view ever. Like, he gives off some nice little monologues that make you kind of understand why chaos
too, which I like.
Sure, but we're never watching the movie in the passenger seat of his mind the way we are with, like, Joaquin Phoenix's Joker. So I think he's the internal Joker, where you're like, okay, this is what he's really going through, but not maybe how other people see him. You know?
Right. All he wanted was love.
Yeah.
You know,
that's all he did.
He never wanted money or power or any of the things that you might think of when you see the Joker as a villain. He literally just wanted love.
And someone to just listen to him. I mean, he even said it himself. Like, the character said it himself.
He did.
And in the movie, it's kind of hard to imagine how this version would ever kind of morph into the agent of, well, no, because the Joker never does really want money. He's an agent of chaos.
Yeah, it's just pure, like, anarchy.
Yeah,
chaos.
he wants to just watch everything tear itself up. So yeah, I could see him falling more into that, but not. I can't ever see this guy turning into Jack Nicholson and like shaking someone's hand with a buzzer. You know?
Oh, I got a live one here.
The editor's name is, I want to say, Jeff Groff, who came on to work for Todd Phillips later on when he started making more dramatic stuff, and he's very tight at keeping things right around 2 hours and telling a great cohesive story. So
perfect.
Yeah, in this day and age when movies are borderlining like 3 hours in length, it's nice to see this perfect story told in just under 2 hours.
Yeah, or traditional 90 minutes is always great.
Yeah, 90 minutes. Yeah, but I'm glad this one was more than 90 minutes, actually.
Yeah. I'll take my cartoons at 90 minutes, or my CGI messes, and then I'll take my movies at 2 hours.
So yeah, for anyone who hasn't seen it, I absolutely recommend it because I think you will enjoy, not only you enjoy it, I think you'll get a lot out of it, and it makes you think after you watch it. It definitely stays with you. It's one of those films. Yeah. So for me, it's definitely like a solid like 9.5, and I will absolutely watch it again.
All right.
9.5.
Very nice. Yeah, I absolutely loved this movie. I was hoping to like it. I saw the previews. I thought it looked like it was going to be beautiful. I definitely wanted to know more about his character, and it gave me that and more. I mean, I was blown away by the performance, the makeup, the costume, the story, everything really. I had very little problem with it. There were only a couple of small things that are either questions or tiny holes, but they don't bother me. They don't make the movie any worse or anything like that, because it still is a comic book movie, believe it or not.
It still is, yeah.
So yeah, I just absolutely loved it, and I think this one goes to 11.
Yeah.
Whoa! Wow.
I've never given
gonna be top shelf for you, right?
Cinema Gulp first, right there.
I will definitely see this again.
It's got the best performance of the year from Joaquin Phoenix. It's got great supporting cast members. It's nice to see when Robert De Niro shows up and gives a shit about a movie. And he was great in this. He actually played a character.
Yeah.
And he had a lot of energy, which was really nice. Frances O'Connor, I think is her name, that played the mom. She was kind of haunting and confusing and great.
She played her role well, yeah.
Yeah, she was great. But yeah, I loved this is one of my favorite movies of the year. I found it fascinating. I enjoyed every second, from the very first second it started to the very ending. I have a lot of questions. It made me think. I'm still thinking, like days and days later. I don't know if I missed something, so I want to go back and watch it again. And when a movie does that to me, it's a great movie to me. So I give it 9 gulps. So thank you for watching our Gulp review. Click like and subscribe to the channel. Hit that little notification bell if you want to see what we're up to next. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. I want to give a quick shout out to my partner in crime, John. We love you, and get back here as soon as you're ready.
Absolutely.
Until next time, I'm Ben.
I'm Joanne.
I'm Mark.
We drink your cinema.
I drink it up!
Yeah, John would totally be creating some kind of fucked up laugh.
Hey, little lady, don't you say maybe. You and I can leave right now. Let's get naked, shaking money maker, baby. I'ma show you how to. It's as easy as 1, 2, 3. I'll touch you if you touch me. Let me take you back to my stabbing cabin. Betamax, roll with the action. Pornographic passion. Californication.